Chair of Joint Parliamentary Select Committee, members of the listening of Parliament, religious leaders, members of the diplomatic corps, religious leaders present here today, members of the civil society, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. This morning we are gathered here for a greater cause, and I'm happy to see all of you here present. It is an act of indication of the love and commitment to our country. As we have come to this stage, after a long process begun by the religious communities, religious leaders, and especially I'd like to thank God for enabling us to come together once again to dialogue about peace building in Kenya. And above all, coming from the situation where we were to where we are now, we're talking about dialogue. As you're already aware, this conference is a result of many other meetings that the religious leaders have held with different stakeholders. Some of you here present on the matters of the IEBC and electoral reforms. The religious leaders present here, like many other Kenyans, are keen on the emerging scenarios which, similar to the past violent general elections, and are concerned that the situation may degenerate and comprise national unity and a threat to the peace before the next general election. As you are aware, the religious leaders were worried of the events that were coming up. And we saw those events as a build-up of violence in the next general election. And since we have come a long way in dark 8 years of Kenya, 1992, 97 and 2008, we would not like to go back again. That is why religious leaders came together and said, let us dialogue and speak and build one nation, one country, and unite the people of Kenya and see as this is our home, no other places. So we appreciate the steps that have been taken already by our leadership of the two major political coalitions, the Jubilee and CORD. We are happy with the presence of the senators here today. That's a sign we are ready already to dialogue and put Kenya first as a country. And also by extension of the presidency office to resolve the current current standing on matters of IEBC, electoral reforms. It is encouraging that the parties have come together and established Parliamentary Select Committee on the issue. Yes, we pray for the dialogue. And we pray that there is God will remove any obstacle, that the dialogue is the best way of building Kenya. Even if we differ, let us differ on the basis of dialogue and talk, than bringing again any other tension. So we pray that we have, for this purpose, this official select parliamentary committee on dialogue basis. That's what we are encouraging, and as Kenyans, let us encourage and support one committee. As the chair of this multi-sectoral forum, I wish to remind you that we have constitutional mandate as Kenyans to participate and engage in our governance process. The multi-sectoral forum therefore provides the opportunity for all of us to do so. We are allowed by the Constitution to participate, but we don't leave politicians alone. That's the importance of this, that we dialogue together for the sake of building one nation. And I would like to repeat that we support one person, that is one we know we support. So in the spirit that I call upon all of you to actively participate and engage fully for the 2 days the conference will be taking place, and let us all participate well through the dialogue and also exchange of ideas for the sake of our nation. This will enable us to consolidate and validate the ideas of Kenyans for submission to the Joint Parliamentary Select Committee. And I'd like to thank all of you for turning up. Let us take Kenya as home, nowhere else. God bless you. Welcome.
Good morning. Indeed, we are very delighted to host you this morning at this Multi-Sectoral Forum, and we are very grateful that when we reached out to the various organizations that are represented here, you were willing to participate and to join in. We are very pleased that distinguished guests have agreed to spare this time early in the morning to come and join us, and we'll be getting remarks from a number of them. Your Excellencies, the ambassadors with us, Senators Kreito Murungi and James Orengo, who are co-chairs of the Joint Parliamentary Select Committee on IEBC reforms, Chair Bishop Coril, and the chairman of the Religious Leaders Mediation Panel, fellow clergy, all protocols observed, brothers and sisters. It is my sincere gratitude to welcome you to Ufungamano on this momentous occasion of the Multi-Sectoral Forum on the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission reforms. We thank God for His grace that has enabled us to finally convene as we prepare to carry on with this important conversation with a view of making an important contribution in the envisaged electoral reforms ahead of next year's general election. May I take this earliest opportunity to recognize all of you for setting aside time out of your busy schedules to be part of this journey. Allow me to especially pay tribute to Ambassador Godek and his colleagues who recently teamed up with religious leaders and other stakeholders to mediate in the IEBC political standoff that had gripped the country. And so it is my conviction that the matter at hand is a discussion that is not just very close to our hearts, but indeed that of all Kenyans. I'm sure that we shall all endeavor to proactively engage during these 2 days with a view of coming up with critical suggestions that will inform our input to the process of electoral reforms and subsequent submission of memoranda to the Joint Parliamentary Select Committee on IEBC. In this regard, I'm optimistic that at the end of this process, this forum will have shaped our thinking on electoral reforms whose anticipated outcome is credible, peaceful, free and fair 2017 general elections. This is the journey that we have followed. In the recent past, Kenya has been gripped with a heightened political activity within the political class, crisscrossing the country in what is obviously seen as early campaigns. Whereas this is expected in any vibrant democracy, the charged political environment has continued to put the country on edge, raising fundamental questions on whether the next national Muslim leader, Adventist, an organization of African instituted churches. From civil society, we have the Civil Society Organization Reference Group, the Election Observation Group, Kura Yangu, Sauti, and we have the NGO Council, trade unions represented by the Central Organization of Trade Unions. From the women constituency, we have the Federation of Women Lawyers, the Maendeleo ya Wanawake Organization, Kenya Women of Faith Networks, and from the youth constituency, we have the Youth Council, the Youth Agenda, and the Universities and Colleges Student Peace Associations of Kenya. We have the United Disabled Persons of Kenya organization represented. We have the Council of Governors, the County Assemblies Forum, and Kenya Daima. As we begin this forum, we know that this process is a political minefield. This calls for patience and determination to navigate the landscape if envisaged reforms are to be achieved. With this in mind, I implore this eminent forum to remain steadfast in our engagement, be strategic in the race against time as we seek solutions that will inform our memorandum and draft bills that we shall submit to the Select Committee. During its session, this forum will receive presentations from experts on a wide range of issues that have carefully been selected with a view of shaping our overall agenda and in keeping with the guidelines provided by the Joint Parliamentary Select Committee. We look forward to working with all stakeholders of goodwill as we formulate the draft bills for presentation on IEBC. In the same breath, I wish to remind all Kenyans that the process of reforming IEBC is not an exclusive responsibility of specific groups. The success of this process calls for public participation, and hence Kenyans must actively engage and submit their views to the Select Committee. In conclusion, I wish to conclude by affirming our commitment to moving this conversation to the next level. We look forward to a more robust engagement with all stakeholders. I once again thank you for graciously accepting our invitation and look forward to hearing the messages from you and our other guests. Thank you. We were very honored yesterday as religious leaders to have a session with the Joint Parliamentary Select Committee, which had a full house at the Senate building, and we spent well over 2 hours in deliberations with them. As part of this process, we invited the co-chairs to come and join us because this is the market for the product that comes out of this initiative. And we have endeavored, if possible, not just to show up to present a memorandum, but to be in conversation even through this process. The co-chairs are with us, as has been mentioned, but because they need to go and carry on with their work in light of the very tight timetable that they are seeking to implement, we shall give them opportunity to make just very brief remarks now, and then when you see them leave, we want them to be really organizing so that the report can be ready in time. Between Honorable James Orengo and Honorable Craig Murungi, because they are both lawyers, I don't think it's senior to the other, they can determine who goes first.
Senator James Orengo is senior to me, both in Parliament and in the legal profession. For those who do not know, he is a senior counsel, I am not. For James Orengo and myself, it's like homecoming, because we've done many things here in Ufungamano in the past. When we met the leaders of the religious organizations yesterday, we were very impressed by their approach. And indeed, we thank them because we are products of the efforts that the religious organizations, the diplomatic community led by His Excellency, the American Ambassador, Mr. and the private sector have played in bringing our Joint Parliamentary Committee into it. Not just simply about exit or non-exit of IEBC. We are looking at the bigger picture, and that is how do we deliver credible, genuine, free and fair elections in 2017, whose results will be accepted by the contestants. And we think that's a very important task for us and for this country, because from our own experience and experience of other countries like Cote d'Ivoire, we are talking about peace and security. We're also talking about survival and indeed prosperity of the nation. And that is why when we see the talent around IMSF, we feel very encouraged that we are walking this journey, not just a few members of parliament and senators, but indeed the entire leadership of this country is walking this journey with us. We want to say that the issue before us is much broader than any departmental committee of the National Assembly. That is an issue for all Kenyans. So don't be discouraged by what you read in the media today. We will continue our mandate, we walk this journey until the end. And the reports that you bring to us, the recommendations, and the draft bills that you're going to develop will be given priority, will be given utmost consideration by our committee. But I want to urge you not to stop at merely giving us a report and a draft bill. I think we have to walk the extra mile. We'd like you to walk the journey until the end. It did last when the religious leaders appeared before our system. I asked them whether they could participate if that case does arise in the recruitment of the new commissioners. Because I think the religious sector is the most trusted sector today. And they say they are going to consult, and we hope when we do bring a report, we'd like to see what consultations will come up with. So we are not going to be with you as you develop the report, because we are the consumers of the report. We want to encourage you to move with speed. I think as Reverend Karanja said, this is a race against time, but it is a race which must be correct. I thank you very much.
Good morning. My Lord Bishop Correa, Reverend Canon Karanja, and Your Excellencies, the ambassadors of Sweden and Denmark, and dear colleagues of the leadership of the Multi-Sectoral Forum. Honorable Karetu has spoken to you, Senator Karetu has spoken to you, so I am going just to make a few remarks in addition to what he has said, but first to thank the leadership of this forum, because when there was nowhere ahead, no light at the end of the tunnel. The leadership of this forum, the religious leaders, came and had a meeting with us and with all the leadership of the political class, and through them and their persistence, we are now in the Joint Parliamentary Committee consisting of both the National Assembly and the Senate. And it was not easy because there were times that I thought we were not getting anywhere. But when they said God works in a mysterious way, He wants us to perform, I didn't know that one of those ways was prayer. And there were many times in those sessions when the scripture was read to us with the word of prayer. So I am asking the leadership of this forum to continue praying for us in this journey, and that just as we needed you at the beginning, we'll need you during this process until we conclude our work, not only as a committee, but as Parliament also. I also want to appreciate the work done by the diplomatic community, led by His Excellency the Ambassador of the United States and the United Kingdom. I think what we are seeing today has a lot to do with their diplomacy and work. I want to assure you that so far, and I hope that will not change, that in the committee we are working as a team. And we are not working as coalitions or political parties, but we're working as a team. And we're hoping that will continue until we come out with something which is good for Kenya. And I think we give the church leaders and the Hindus and the Muslims who came to make their presentation yesterday that we're going to try as much as possible to keep together. My only final word is this, that Kenya, we have now a tradition that even if we are falling on the precipice, we never give up. From 1992, if I remember, to 1997, to 2007, whenever we are just about to fall on the precipice, there's always some intervention from Kenyans, men and women of goodwill, to bring us together and dialogue together. And thanks to God that the interlocutor has always been the church leaders. I think in 1992, 97, and 2007, all was achieved because of the intervention of the religious leaders and other stakeholders. I'm not trying to minimize the role of the other stakeholders in this. Hoping that what we come with at the end will be true to the spirit of our Constitution, which says that the Bill of Rights should be part and parcel and an integral part of the democratic state that we are establishing in Kenya. And that in the enjoyment of our political rights, we should have an enabling environment for that. And the Constitution sets a very high threshold in the manner in which we should hold elections. That the elections should be free, fair, transparent, credible, simple, verifiable, and, accountable. As we do all this in our work to try and reform the electoral process and deal with the problems surrounding the IEBC, we should be guided by these principles so that at every election, and at the end of every election, some people will be happy, some people will be unhappy. But it should be held in such a way that everybody will be happy with the result of that election, that justice would have been done and the elections would have been held in a free and fair manner. And in this, we need the commitment of every Kenyan. And for those who may occupy those positions in the future, we should remember that it is not the numbers. Sometimes, even one person in charge of elections. And there was a time when elections were held under the authority or the direction of one supervisor of elections. That so long as we can have men and women of integrity presiding over elections, I have no doubt that we can have free and fair elections. And the outcome of every election, although maybe a matter of disputation in the law courts, but outside the law courts, I think we should be able to live with the results of the election and continue with the work of building our country and ensuring that there's peace and security. And knowing that we must build one indivisible nation where all of us will care for each other. I thank you very much. God bless.
We are glad that now you know what we are up to. We shall ask that you indulge us for a couple of minutes, and I'm aware that His Excellency Ambassador Godek will be wanting to reserve not much longer after now, but I'll also ask for his indulgence so that Adam Machu, the General Secretary of SUPTEM, can greet you and make one or two remarks, and Ambassador will be next, and he will introduce his colleagues.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is a great honor, of course, to have all these men and women of God, and other brothers and sisters who are also men of God, and our political leaders, and our brothers and sisters who are in civil activism, and all the women and youth need to be here to discuss a very fundamental issue that, of course, in the next few months, our country will gravitate around and finally makes an entry. Only then can we as a nation stand together and make that binding decision. I always say this: if only we can be one, then we can be one. Religious leaders have upon their shoulders very, very heavy responsibilities to lead the flocks. But for the religious leaders to lead the flock, they need to be united, one unison, so that they are seen in a forum like this. We move together. And I am sure we are moving together. I always, in my heart, say, whenever I'm in a meeting with Bishop Rotich, the diplomacy he employs, he engages, versus every other thing. The conveners of this forum today are, as has been read to you and in your file, those religious leaders. But one of the religious leaders is missing unity. That is the Shia Itna Sharia. Maybe I'm inadvertently left out. But as religious leaders, we must be one. So that as we are, we can be able to make a decision for the whole country. As religious leaders, we do not want to be asked questions as to where are other religious leaders. We want to be seen and be told that these are the religious leaders who are leading Kenyans. Kenyans have listened to us for the last 1 year, very honorably, very humbly. And that leadership must be seen and must be representatives, so that we can be able to move together as one unit. In any organizations and in any functions and in any meetings that we go, I would like to see the Hindu Council here, the Muslims here, and our Christian brothers and sisters here, so that any other person can say it is a uniform representation. As a nation, we have gone through a lot of problems. Attacks from criminals and attacks from people who say they are doing it in the name of religion. Everybody here has gone to schools. No scripture says anywhere you kill in the name of any religion. But despite all those heinous crimes that are committed against fellow Kenyans, the religious leadership have stood formidably. We have shown that solidarity. We have visited hospitals and homes together. And I would like that to move as we nurture what we now call the MSF, Multi-Sectoral Forums. The Multi-Sectoral Forums must bring everybody on board so that we move. And those people whom we are bringing on board, the 9 units of the Multi-Sectoral Forums, the religious outfit is the one leading this. And if as religious leaders we are not united, there are holes amongst us, and we try to outdo one another, in an issue that at the end of the day will come out, we will be doing disservices to Kenyans. We will be here for the next 2 days. Let these participations be active. Let us consult each other as we move forward. The task ahead is big because there is a group work. That group work is what is going to generate what Mheshimiwa Kraitu had just asked for. And that input must be from Reverend Rotich, must be from Abdulatif Shaban, and must be from Nitin, the Hindu Council. In the event of those lacunae developing, then we have problems. Finally, we have moved on very well, and let us continue to move on very well. Na tuambiane ukweli, na ikiwa nia yetu ni safi, nia yetu ionekane ni safi, tuko pamoja kama taifa moja. Ikiwa tunafanyia kazi watu wetu ionekane, tunafanyia umma ambao tunawaongoza. Today is here, tomorrow will be there. I need to see more representations of others from other denominations. Let those who invited see to all these things so that it is accepted at the end of the day. I don't want to see a situation where tomorrow the committee of Parliamentary Select Committee will see a gap where views from other units are not there. So far it's good. Thank you so much. God bless all of you.
The ambassadors who come to Kenya, please learn Swahili. So I'm sure Ambassador Godek understands everything what you say in Swahili. He was basically repeating what he had said in English. We are very grateful that the diplomats in our land, in carrying out their tasks and their duties assigned by their nations, consider that the peace and tranquility of Kenya is critical in having a conducive environment. And we are very honored to have with us a few of them today. We began to organize together with them way back in January, way ahead of the emotional outbursts that came. Because all of us looking at the evolving socio-political scenario, we could see there was trouble ahead. And we began to say, the peace of this country matters so much, can we all make an input? And we are very, very grateful. But even the mediation process they played as a critical role as we have. They have also supported this forum, and we are always organizing. And so I will ask Ambassador Godek to come and make his remarks. But before he does so, he introduce his colleagues that are present, that are part of the big fraternity that is working for peace of Kenya.
Waheshimiwa, ndugu na mabwana, hamjambo? Habari zenu? Mambo vipi? Canon Karanja, Bishop Courier, Bishop Rotich, Secretary General Sutchem, Wanchu, Senators, particularly the co-chairs of the Select Committee of Parliament, my good colleague, Danish Ambassador Knudsen, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great pleasure and an honor to be here with you this morning for this multi-sectoral forum on building consensus on electoral matters. This is, I think, a very important forum as Kenyans seek to build public support, participation, collect ideas, and just discuss the question of how to address the issues and questions that have come up around the IEBC and the electoral process generally. I want to say at the outset as well a very big thank you to the religious leaders, particularly to Canon Karanja and Bishop Rotich, but to many others as well, and to colleagues in the business community who really did play an instrumental role. They were critical in the process that led to the Parliamentary Joint Select Committee to address reforms to the IEBC and in the electoral process. I just want to commend all of them for their commitment and for their service in this matter. I think that it really was quite critical. And it's my hope that the discussion that you all will have today and tomorrow will help make progress at this critically important time in the future of Kenya's electoral system processes. Really, in the future of Kenya's democracy. Ensuring the fair and peaceful transition of power is central to any democracy. And I think it's fair to say that Kenya is at a critical juncture at the moment. You have a still new constitution passed in 2010, an extraordinarily good document. You held an election in 2013, and it really is now going to be the second election, and it is often the second election, which I think is truly telling about the future. So it's a critical moment, and it's vitally important that everyone in Kenya do everything possible to ensure that the 2017 election is free, fair, peaceful, and credible. Certainly all of you and all of the Kenyans who suffered through the terrible post-election violence in 2007 and 2008, you know this very well. And you know that critical to a successful election is a strong set of institutions. To start with, Kenya obviously must have a strong electoral body capable of running a transparent poll and a judiciary capable of fairly judging disputes. But a strong electoral body and fair courts are not enough. The public must see these institutions, must believe these institutions to be honest, efficient, and even-handed. The public must have confidence that these institutions can and will do their jobs impartially and in accordance with the law. The future doesn't just depend on who wins an election, it also depends on how the elections themselves happen. Were they fair and transparent in fact? Were they peaceful? Does the public trust the outcome to be successful? To have a successful election, the answer to these questions must be yes. And building a strong and credible electoral body is a difficult task, especially now, with only 13 months left until the election. But I have confidence that Kenya can and will achieve this. I have confidence that this can be done, that you can take steps to further strengthen your electoral body and the electoral process. A successful election is really a whole of society effort. All of the relevant actors must be involved in strengthening the electoral process and ensuring the electoral body is strong. The formation, obviously, of the Parliamentary Joint Select Committee to address reforms to the IEBC was essential as well. It really was a critical step towards addressing the differences in the political arena through dialogue and negotiation. So I want to congratulate the two co-chairs for the work that they're doing, the work that the entire committee is doing, and I do think it is very important. So I believe it was you, Senator Orengo, who said that they're coming together not as political parties, but as concerned Kenyans, as leaders who are seeking to address the challenges. So the work that you're doing is critical, but the formation of the committee is obviously only a step. Now the committee needs to obviously listen to and hear forums such as this one. It needs to continue to reach out, and the work needs to be done, as you all know even better than I do, swiftly and fairly. And the results must make sense to the Kenyan people. They must be seen to advance the goal of a fair election. And it's important that whatever the outcome is, whatever the final decisions and recommendations the committee makes, they need to be in line with the Constitution, the foundational document for the country, and the public must accept. The public must widely see the results as you have. But in the coming months, I think it will be even more critical that all of us join hands and work together, that we communicate with Kenyans across the country, that we seek to build bridges, we seek to build bridges across ethnic and political divides. Certainly many of you in this room as leaders, religious leaders, civil society leaders, political leaders, you have a critical role as well, but people will listen to you. And when you call for peace, you call for rejection, violence, and when you seek to heal differences and bridge gaps between people, you can make a huge difference. And in the process, you can help forge a common commitment to address the challenges that the country faces. I hope that this multi-sectoral forum, I hope and I believe that this multi-sectoral forum will advance the effort to get Kenya, to move Kenya forward to a free, fair, peaceful, and credible election in 2017. I hope that all Kenyans come together through dialogue to build confidence in the electoral system and its institutions, and that we do so together. You all are leaders in this country, and you all, in the end, you have the primary responsibility. The United States is absolutely committed to supporting Kenya in this critical election. We will work with you, we will support you, we will seek to provide resources where it will help to make progress. We are a steadfast partner of Kenya, and we will work with you to further strengthen democracy, justice, and the rule of law. But it is, in the end, it is your country. Kenya belongs to Kenyans. And you all as leaders, you all as citizens must have the first responsibility. You do have the first responsibility for ensuring the progress of this country and for ensuring that the next election is in fact a success, that it is free, fair, peaceful, and credible. And I know that you can succeed. I know that working together, joining hands, that you can and you will succeed. I want to say thank you again to the organizers, to the participants, to everyone who has put together this critically important forum. I look forward to working with you. I look forward to seeing the results. Congratulations on this very important meeting. Pamoja tusonge mbele, asanteni sana.
Asante sana, Balozi. We appreciate those remarks very much. And I think we just also acknowledge the heritage of the partnership between the diplomatic corps and the non-state actors in this country in nudging ourselves along the way. We appreciate the senators need to find their way now. We wish you well in your endeavor. On behalf of the political parties and actors, if Honorable Mother you come in, just greet us.
Good morning, everyone. protocols observed, and other partners for convening today's meeting. Because if we refuse to act as Kenyans, then we must suffer the consequences of our inaction. And all the times, as has been said before, that we have had a crisis, we have come together and found solutions together. And I've been saying that the talks now being held in Parliament, we have no issue with Parliament taking leadership because that's why they were elected. But they must be all-inclusive to embrace other actors. I have seen the heading of these talks as Multi-Sectoral Forum. Parliament ought to consider consolidating their effort with this joint forum so that the plenaries are held outside of Parliament, so that bills are given in a multi-sectoral forum and atmosphere, and the conclusions and agreements made are then enacted into law without amendments. And then there will be a broad ownership, because elections in Kenya are not about the two main political protagonists, that is God and Jubilee. Elections are about everyone. Even that voter who votes has a stake in elections. So whatever is going on in Parliament is good, this is good. The question is, how do we consolidate these two efforts so that they can bear fruit? And this reminds me of the constitutional review. You remember there was the Ufungamano process and a process by the government then. And things only began to improve when the two forums were consolidated. This is because in difficult times, you need the collective wisdom of the state, of the nation. You don't need pockets. And when we go and give our views in Parliament, they then decide what to do with them. When during the Kanu era, there was the constitutional review process initiative, the Bomas, and then later Safari Park process. There was no written, nothing in the constitution expressly requiring the then Kanu regime to listen to the people. But they came outside. We came out of Parliament into Safari Park, and we had a multi-sectoral mistakes. They are recruited by political parties to violate the law. We need the office of the Registrar of Political Parties competitively hired as envisaged in the Constitution. It's unfortunate I'm speaking when the parliamentarians have gone. They made an amendment, which I believe is unconstitutional, regularizing the position of the current holder. Nothing against her, but they must advertise that post, recruit competitively, and then we will know we have an office that is capable of whipping political parties to obey the law. I don't want to go on and on. I was asked to greet, but I thought these greetings should include the agenda. Because we normally like heavy greetings, not just light greetings. So I wanted a little bit. And then one last one, as I see it, is that the other problem we have is beyond the commissioners, is the senior officials of the commission. Just like in a ministry of government, commissioners keep on being churned out, but officers, senior officers are there permanently. If something goes wrong in procurement, know that the originator will be a senior officer who then recruits a commissioner. Much more, that's how ministers are recruited into those things. So if, once we do away with the Electoral Commission, we must vet the senior officers and do a lifestyle audit, especially in procurement and logistics. And then I have been thinking about what can we do, because the problem is also with the clerk. That clerk who will be compromised or presiding officer to announce something wrong. Why can't we make those ad hoc jobs a once in a lifetime? If you volunteer to be one today, you will never be again in any election in your lifetime. That's what the jury system is. That's how they do it, where there is jury system. Why? We politicians must not know who is likely to be a presiding officer in our area. We must not have an idea whom we can go to recruit. And when they are finally recruited, constituencies can be swapped so that nobody knows whom to go and compromise. Because we must accept that as a nation, we have actually accepted corruption as a way of life. So to be able to disrupt those cartels, we have to do something unusual. That was but last, the very last one, because the ambassador of Denmark is here. I went to Denmark recently, that was last year, courtesy of Multi-Party, Center for Multi-Party. We went a few leaders. We found they have no electoral commission. So how do they do it? They have a sort of setup which is like the county, but they don't call it a county. Whether it's a district, whatever it is, each county, the political parties sit down and they arrange the elections. And then the civil service conducts the elections. That way you build trust among yourselves. If there is a dispute, the same committee solves that dispute. If there is a recount, the same people sit down and watch over the recount. How can we build trust among ourselves? How can we learn to carry responsibility for our areas so that we stop this, something of madness we contract every time there is an electoral cycle? I just wanted to throw a spanner in the works, that it's a question of trust. We do not trust each other at all. How can we begin to take that responsibility? Over to you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for listening.
Now you can see that is right on target. She's going into the content that we shall be looking at this afternoon. And one of the distinctive recognitions that one must make of the Honorable Mother is that she speaks her mind and is very clear. I mean, for Ambassador and those of us who spend hours and hours seeking to mediate, we were only mediating lack of trust. There wasn't anything that our politicians couldn't handle, except that they don't trust each other. And the mistrust is so deep. I think when they sleep, they conjure up conspiracy theories from one partner to the other and verbalize it at public rallies, generally inflaming passion. And we hope that this process will nudge us on that journey of trust. And you should take very seriously when you hear Honorable Kiraito Murungi and Honorable James Oreko say they have left their coalitions. They are Kenyans now, trying to do a national duty. If they carry it out effectively, we shall have cleared a huge milestone in that journey. Since the ambassador of Denmark has been projected as one who knows how they do things a little better by Honorable Mother, and we're very honored to have you here. We'll ask you to just come and greet the people. Bishop Makarioki will make a few remarks after that and pray for tea. That's the brief I have, Nelson. Ambassador.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Now I realize that I'm between you and your tea, so I will be very, very brief. But I'm of course very honored also to be asked to make a few remarks to this gathering. I think as co-chair together with the ambassador of Norway of the donor group, we are of course very, very supportive of what you're trying to do here. I would of course like to support all the remarks made by my American colleague. I would also like to pay my respect to him and to the British ambassador. I think it's very clear that they have been working very tirelessly in support of the efforts that you, as a joint collective gathering here, have tried to do in terms of bringing the political actors together, and I'm very happy that within the international partner group we do have colleagues like that who are stepping up when there is a need. I think that, and it's already been said many times, that this gathering is extremely important in terms of contributing to the process towards ensuring that the next elections here in Kenya will be free, fair, credible, and peaceful. I think that having all the religious organizations together and supported also by other parts of civil society is the signal that the Kenyan society needs in terms of seeing their leaders stepping up and wanting to ensure that the population of this country can move into the next elections without the fear of violence or without the fear of their voice and their votes not being respected. I'm very happy to listen today to the statements made by the two co-chairs of the Joint Parliamentary Select Committee. I think it's very good to hear them stating here in front of all of us that they intend to work together as a team and to try and do their best to come up with solutions that will solve some of the issues that have been raised regarding the electoral process, regarding the credibility of the IEBC. But I think that your role in monitoring their discussions, in providing input to their discussions, and also to help in transmitting the results of their discussions out to the Kenyan population is very, very important. Because I think there's of course an enormous task now for the committee and with your support to come up with all the right solutions to improving the capability of the Electoral Commission and the electoral system. But you can put as many systems in place as you want if you cannot also get the people to trust and to believe that these institutions will guarantee a free and fair electoral process, then you don't get very far. And of course I'm very honored by Martha Kura mentioning her visit to Denmark and making comments on our electoral process, but I think the reason why it's sometimes difficult to use that example anywhere else is that that process in Denmark relies to a large degree on the trust that people have in that actually nobody really tries to cheat and that their vote will be respected. We do not have all the safeguards that you have in terms of ensuring the electoral process because it's not needed. And I think that's a process to get to that stage where there is sufficient trust to not have to focus so much on all the whole structure around the electoral process. And I think for Kenya it's still taking those steps in terms of getting the structure in place and building the trust. I had actually also been thinking of saying a little bit about that I would have liked to see more of the intelligent and strong and capable Kenyan women on this stage, but I think we have, with the remarks of Honorable Martha Kura, we have really already seen what Kenyan women stand for, strong views and strong leadership, and I think that's another reason why I think that the people meeting here, the religious groups and so on, you have very, very strong women groups also within your different organizations, and I hope that this will also be an occasion for them to step up and to be in the forefront of sending the message to Kenyans on how to support the electoral process and how to do it in a peaceful way. I think it's also really important that you as leaders can send the right message to the youth of Kenya. I think we all realize that if this process, if the preparations of the elections go wrong, it's not those of us who are sitting in this room that will pay the price. It would be the youth that will be out there in the street being victims of violence, and they are the ones that we really need to protect and to show a way of having their voices heard and having their votes respected in ways that do not encourage violence or that do not subject them to violence. Before I end, I just want to say also that I think Kenya has come a very long way. Yesterday I attended a civil society function for the now retired Chief Justice, Willie Mutunga. And I was touched by really two things during that event. First of all, of course, all the warmth and the gratitude that civil society has towards the Chief Justice and what he has achieved within the judiciary. But what also struck me was, because of course that was also an occasion to share old war stories from decades back. And those stories were of exile, of imprisonment, of violence. And I mean, you can discuss all the challenges of the Kenyan democracy today, but Kenya has come a long way from that place you were back then. You have a very strong constitution that the Kenyan people are rightly very, very proud of, and you do suffer setbacks in your democratic process, but I really would encourage you to keep the focus on making sure that these next elections are really there to embed the values of the Constitution even further, and to ensure that this will be a step towards strengthening the Kenyan democracy even more. I'm sure you can do it, and it's true that the parliamentarians, the political leaders will have to do their job and to find compromises and to put them into law, but they can only do it with your support and your advice and your guidance, and especially the solutions that will be found will be nothing without you going out there to your constituents and encouraging them to be part of this electoral process, be part of it in an active and peaceful way. So with these remarks, I just wish you very, very fruitful deliberations, and be sure that you have the support of your international partners in what you're doing here, and good luck and all the best. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Jamani, hamjambo? Salimiani katika mbinguni. Thank you so very much. You know, when I was growing up, I come from a place where they said, I heard them say, if you're bitten by a snake, even when a rat passes, you jump. You think it is a snake. And for some of us, especially those of us who come from the Rift Valley, we've been bitten by a snake. So every time we hear election time is coming, we jump up because we think the snake is coming up to bite you again. But we are so glad that we can see some light at the end of the tunnel. This gathering is so crucial, is so important that it could be the instrument that will shape the future of this nation. That this gathering could take this nation to the next level. Because if we stick together in unity, being guided by Psalms 133, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. We will shape the future of this nation. So for us in the Evangelical Alliance, we are determined, we are decided that we will hold on to this forum, We will support the Parliamentary Select Committee until we come to a point where every Kenyan can say election time is a good time, where every Kenyan can be able to go to vote without having any fear of what is going to come out. And that is going to be determined by this forum. Remember, you are the people, the clergy. You are the voice of God. Yeah, and you are a member of the clergy out of a calling, because of a calling. Not because of a job, but out of a calling, knowing that you give an account not only to your seniors here, but you will also give an account to God. So whatever we do it out of conviction that God has placed me in Kenya for this particular time, so that I may face the challenges that are facing this nation and bring the purposes of God into those challenges. So mine is to pray that all of us, all Kenyans, and especially our politicians, will put aside their personal interests. That we put aside our personal interests so that we have the interest of the nation at hand, first hand. We have the interest of the nation, the interest of the unity of this nation, and thus we will receive the wisdom. Let's agree, remember this. Our challenges shall not be solved outside. They cannot be solved by the United Nations, neither will they be solved by the African unity. Our challenges, our problems will be solved by sober people. And the sober people are gathered in this place. So as we start together, as we move together, there is a sigh of relief outside there that something good is going to happen out of this forum. So together, we shall build a stronger nation. If we work together and support the Parliamentary Select Committee until we come to a point where that which we want has come to pass, we will see the success. Yesterday afternoon, we had the opportunity of presenting our memorandum to the Select Committee. And there are issues. I was glad listening to Honorable Mother Kura, and a number of those issues that she was talking about are the things that we put in our memorandum yesterday. We are also saying that we need the people that look ahead. That we look ahead when we think of elections. Let's look ahead. Let's get to a time where we can get the ID, just the national ID, become the national ID. It is the voters card. Everything is in that ID. We are in the time of technology. So that we don't, as a Kenyan, you can vote from anywhere. You can vote from anywhere and still vote for your candidate. That will save on the travels that take place during elections, and it will also save on the cheating that comes during election. But at the same time, we are the people that believe in prayer. And because we are the people that believe in prayer, let us not cease praying for this nation. Let's not cease praying for this nation. As we sit around the table and discuss, let's have another week. Let's have another week that is down on their knees praying so that we can see peace prevail in our nation, and especially during the elections. And we have a team of clergy who have vowed and said that they are going to pray that 2017 will be the most peaceful election year we have ever held in Kenya. There are people who have said we are going to take time and to pray. And we are also working out that from the 8th of August 2016, this nation who will be praying every day that we may so that we have peaceful election. So while we have a team that is sitting round the table discussing, we also have